back again with another game vid. It's an exciting one, as Train Sim World 4 releases to everyone who pre-ordered tomorrow. There's loads of cool stuff in this game, call me biased, but I genuinely love it. I'm going to be talking about some of the stuff I've developed for the game. These audio features have gone unannounced, as I didn't really tell anyone outside the audio team, so here's my own dev blog. I've made 3 new additions and plenty of improvements to general route audio, as well as working on some of the loco and rolling stock audio. I'll start off with the new additions, as that's probably what you'll want to hear first. By the way, all footage in this video was captured by me in-game at 1440p max settings. So, tree, wind and birds. I created a spline to implement the sound of tree leaves reacting to the in-game wind and rain, as well as nesting birds to the trees. It's not on every single tree, we decided that it would be most effective on larger clumps of trees and tree rows. I originally created it for the Glossop DLC, but agreed that it would be nice to save it for Train Sim World 4, as it still needed some refining. Also, as Rivet Games were primarily developing the route, we didn't want to give them something that hadn't been tested yet. I was able to iron out the bugs as well as implement it on a larger scale from the get-go. It's super easy to use, you just drop it into the scene and use it to draw a line along a tree line that you want to have wind and bird noise. It tracks the game's time of day, season, wind and rain strength to ensure that the trees sound like they're reacting with their environment. Have a listen. Next up, canopy rain. I also made another spline that adds the sound of rain hitting station canopies. I came up with the idea while developing Glossop, but didn't start making it until I'd started working on the audio for the Antelope Valley line. It works just the same as the tree, wind and bird spline, except it only tracks the weather data to match the canopy rain audio with how strong it's raining in game. Have a listen. And finally, tunnel and bridge noise. This bugged me for a couple of months as I'd been sat on a train listening to how the sound changes when you go under bridges and through tunnels. It's an effect caused by a combination of the sound waves being reflected back towards the train and also the air pressure building up as it's an enclosed space, which is creating a volume boost. It's physics. We already apply some reverb and occlusion as you go under bridges and through tunnels, so this was actually really easy to implement after I figured it all out. This effect even makes the reverb slightly more noticeable, which is great because it previously was barely there. Tunnels apply this effect the most, with larger bridges applying less and small bridges applying even less. It's still a noticeable effect on all variants, and I think it sounds great. Have a listen. The other guys in the audio team have made some pretty cool additions themselves, but I just wanted to cover what I've done in this video. Now I'm going to talk about the rest of my work on TSW4 prior to release. My first task for Train Sim World 4 was implementing the audio for the Eanos box wagon that's being released alongside the Vectron loco. It was my first loco related task, so there was a bit of learning to do, but I got the hang of it. After this I went back to supporting a few TSW3 DLCs, but after working on the Glossop DLC, it was time to get back onto TSW4 as the routes were now ready for audio work to start. My first TSW4 route was the Antelope Valley line, where I designed the zonal ambience as well as a lot of the sounds to add detail along the route. The line stretches 77 miles from Los Angeles to Lancaster. This route was pretty cool as you drive alongside the railway featured in GTA 5. I hope you get my point, I know LA's real. Matthew then continued my work and implemented the ambience into the scene, as then I'd been moved to work on the Catan Helpers DLC. After Catan, I started working on the East Coast mainline route. This stretches 80 miles from Peterborough to Doncaster and was my sole responsibility. I designed and implemented all of the zonal and detail ambience for the 80-mile stretch, as well as implementing all of the audio for all stations. I added a huge amount of detail to this route and have been getting some great feedback from our beta testers. After ECML, I moved on to my first loco, the Metrolink Rotem's cab and passenger cars. There was so much more to learn on top of what I'd learnt for the Eanos box wagon, and I had a great time. We even had the engineer Kevin, who drove the loco for Adam and Ryan, join as part of the beta forum to give us feedback. And of course, I added some great details to this one, and a special thanks to Kevin for the frequent feedback and video references. Genuinely really helpful. The Loca comes with a backup horn to use when the main horn breaks. Unfortunately, the valve where you swap the horns is inaccessible in-game, so I made it a 10% chance that any spawned Rotem's cab car will be using their backup horn instead of their main horn. Kevin sent me some recordings of the Rotem's backup horn, and because they weren't aware of the backup horn while on the recording trip, I had to make it myself. Thankfully, the horn is the exact same make as the main horn, so all I had to do was match the pitch, and Kevin approved of it. I also created some points around the cab that rattle as you speed up. This system stores the points I created, and when you spawn a Rotem's, it chooses a random number between 0 and 4. This then selects the corresponding rattle position along with the matching sound for the item rattling. It sounds great. Thanks for watching this video, and as always, check out my website as there was way too much stuff to talk about in this video, and even a few Easter eggs I didn't talk about. Enjoy!